I would like drop down to my knees behind the waitress station and I would cry and I'd say, I'm not going to be able to do that. Like, I can't do this. There's no way.
We lose 49,000 people to suicide. So imagine how many parents are actually affected with younger, young dependent children. So it's important for me to fight for it because it will help that many people in our nation.
It's hard to imagine the pain these parents are going through right now. The grief can also fuel change to help others with similar stories. One of the parents you just heard from is also the founder of Marshmallow's Hope, Laura Kane. She was able to capture the attention of our lawmakers to pass legislation allowing parents to take time off work and keeping their jobs safe. Laura created the nonprofit group Marshmallow's Hope after losing her own son to suicide and wanted to help other parents going through the same pain. Her story was able to draw attention of Senator Steve Sottleman. He co-sponsored the Senate bill and was able to help pass Zachary's Parent Protection Act.
Families who are coping with loss of a child due to suicide or homicide. But I think there are a lot of different situations where people are struggling, have unexpected circumstances with the death of a child, and they need help. And I could see this legislation be expanded to help other families in need as well.
This morning, we're breaking down what's included in this legislation. Take a look at your screen. Under Senate Bill 2034, smaller employers are required to provide 6 weeks of unpaid leave for employees who experience losing a loved one and up to 12 weeks for larger employers. The law encompasses dependents 26 years and younger. This morning, Dylan Valencia joins us with more on how this law started and the story of one mother who has experienced the grief of losing her son to suicide.
Thank you, Manny. Laura Kane, the one you just saw, is the one who advocated for this law, and she had to return to work only 3 days after her son's funeral. Upon returning, she experienced a significant number of panic attacks and anxiety, which impacted her work performance, eventually causing her to lose her job. And it wasn't until she met other parents who lost their children to suicide that she chose to propel something like this to lawmakers, and that's where we find the story of Kelly. She also lost her son to suicide, and she explains how a law like this is beneficial to those who are grieving.
Your whole world stops and it goes into this deafening silence that you cannot even imagine, accompanied by this intense, overwhelming, unbearable, searing pain within your whole soul.
In July of 2021, Kelly lost her son Thomas to suicide. He was only 17 years old. Kelly wears one of his shirts in remembrance of him.
He suffered from depression. We had many bouts of going to see psychiatrists.
Leading up to his death, Kelly noticed Thomas was getting better.
I always had in the back of my mind that he may take his life. But in 2021, when I saw this like fresh light in his eyes, so to speak, it's like that thought just dissipated.
Kelly and her husband were returning from a trip when they got the call from their daughter that changed Kelly's life forever.
She called in a panic, and she never calls me. Teenagers never call, they always text. So I instantly, when I saw her phone number, I instantly knew something was up.
Thomas was found in his room, unresponsive. The days and weeks after his death, the thought of returning to work was unbearable for Kelly. Thankfully, her employer was supportive.
When I tried to come back, I would have panic attacks there. It would be so overwhelming that I would actually be, heading to my section and I would drop down to my knees behind the waitress station and I would cry and I'd say, I'm not going to be able to do that. I can't do this. There's no way.
She returned to work permanently after 2 months, but for many, this isn't the case.
I often think about the parents that don't have a luxury like that. They can't just leave. You can't even fathom your name. And they offer 2 weeks. You don't even eat. You don't even know your name. And then after 2 weeks, and in the 2 weeks you're trying to figure out how to come up with money to bury your child.
For a law like this to be passed inspires Kelly to keep going and support those who are also grieving the loss of a child. She wears this thumbprint necklace in memory of Thomas.
He was an amazing kid, and I'm very blessed to be his mother, and I hope that I represent him in helping other bereaved parents and any child that suffers. Nobody has to suffer in silence.
And right now, Laura Kane is advocating to bring this law to the federal level, and Illinois is actually the very first state to enact it. Supporters of the bill also hope to bring paid leave for bereavement purposes in the near future.